Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
When you were a child, did you ever read the book Where the Wild Things Are?
No.
No, me neither.
Oh. That's a stupid question then.
But I did remember a bit like seeing like a video VHS or DVD cover, looking at the cover and be like, oh, I don't know what that book's about, really, or just being intrigued by what was on the cover, but never really checking it out in the kids' library or whatever. Really. But I thought it'd be something I'd actually like because of it looked like something I didn't like monsters or something. So I thought I would have been intrigued or drawn into it, but I never really looked at it. So I didn't really know what was. It was probably some kind of moral story of some kind.
Right, no, never seen it.
Never seen the cover.
No.
It's by Maurice Sendak, but it's like a, how to describe the art in a sense, but it does look kind of almost like a dull colorization of sorts, not like very vibrant and everything like a normal kid's book would be.
When you're saying this, it's making me think of like a Roald Dahl book or a
Oh yeah, not that kind of, no, because they were sort of had colourful covers.
Oh no, not in the actual books. They were just more like silhouettes, weren't they, in sketches?
Yeah, but anyways, I say that, but obviously we're going to be talking about the film adaptation of the book by Spike Jonze, who generally does things that have kind of like almost like darkish undertones of sorts, or like not so much melancholy, but
What's that other one that does that as well? There's a book, an author that does that for children's books. Sarah likes it. The Minpins or something like that.
the Moomins.
No.
No, I don't know what you mean then.
There is I feel like all fairy tales would have a dark undertone to it, to be
they do, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, sorry, carry on.
And so when I saw I remember like seeing the trailer for this when it came out the film came out in 2009. Obviously, trailers came out before then for 2008. But even then, I was kind of like, it looks interesting, but I never really got round to seeing it. And so obviously very late in the game now, we're going to be looking at it.
So have you seen you've never seen it too?
No.
And you haven't read it either?
No. So in a sense, I've obviously no real knowledge of what the story, how long the story is, and then therefore how they are going to make it into a feature-length film.
So we're both going in blind basically.
Essentially.
But
yeah.
You think you should have read this as a child, and I have no clue what it is.
And at the same token, feel like something I would have seen a film of, because it seems like it's something that's to do with like monsters in it.
Why don't you do this for Monster March?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have the disc at that point. I don't know.
Don't aggravate me with beasts and monsters.
Well, the synopsis that is on Google reads as a fantasy drama movie that centres around a lonely 8-year-old boy named Max who sails away to an island inhabited by creatures known as the Wild Things, who declare Max their king.
It's all to do with probably his imagination, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's probably what the book is about.
Because you have really amazing imaginations when you're younger, and then when you grow up, they just disappear. Or they get squandered. I don't know which one it is.
No, well, I guess we'll see how the film plays out.
Yeah.
And what the wild things look like. Other than from what they've seen in the trailer, but kind of almost like a not very vibrant colouring of what I saw in the trailer, so whether that's throughout, I don't know.
Expressing probably the character, I assume.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, we'll see.
We'll be back with the thoughts very shortly.
Hey, what you doing? Is she the one you were mad at when you were smashing stuff?
Yeah. No. I thought she said she wasn't gonna come back.
Well, looks like she's back now.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm gonna get her.
Don't. She doesn't like that kind of thing. Come back. Come back here.
My love.
King, I wouldn't recommend that.
Stop it!
Let the wild rumpus start.
Is that how we're starting this podcast?
From coming back from watching the film, yeah.
Yeah, is that how we're
I
starting
feel
it?
like, yeah.
Okay, I see.
And initial thoughts?
Initially, I feel like Max is a feral child and he's unruly and hard work and bit of a pain.
Yeah, you get in that in the very first, few seconds as he's
Painting
running
a dog.
tormenting a dog. And
Poor dog. I was like, oh my god, what are we watching?
Honestly, I'm going to say that was not how I thought the film was going to start.
And then we kind of see that he's got these suppressed emotions and this is kind of him acting out because he doesn't know how else to express himself, resolve his anger and
His frustrations and stuff,
yeah.
like his sisters didn't really pay much attention to him anymore. And it's obviously there's a thing of divorce. His mum's got a new boyfriend.
I was going to say, where's the dad? I don't know if he died or if...
We don't know that information.
If he'd been... Because you can see there's a globe thing or in his room that says, to the moon and back or to the world and back. So it does symbolise that, obviously, his dad did love him or does love him dearly. But everything's changing. And you know what people are like, and especially children, no one likes change. Especially when you can't understand it and you can't control it. When you're little, you can't control anything. And then when you become an adult, you can control everything. And then that's even more draining.
True. But you're obviously that age of 8, 9, 10 is kind of a key point, isn't it? Especially if you've been in a home that's been all loving up to a point and then suddenly everything's gone sour, really.
Also, I don't know if he has many of his own friends. So I think he's feeling quite isolated and alone.
Yeah, because his sister makes a comment about that, doesn't she? Go and play with your friends or
Make
something.
your own friends or go get your own friends.
And it's just see him playing in the snow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where the location's set, but it's obviously like a cold or somewhere in the Americas where they get seasons, because it's obviously not LA or something where there's snow.
You could actually say it's a winter film. Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the film, as I say before, how the colour palette showed the trailer, it feels kind of virginal and autumnal.
Mm.
The trees are dying back, and it's cold colours.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of an underlying tone of how Max feels, and is feeling upset and resentment and frustration.
Yeah,
and that's why he's a little wild monster, basically. So it's quite interesting when he does run away and he acts out, because obviously he
bites his mum, doesn't he?
Yeah, he bites his mum.
Because he's
playing up on the counter.
Yeah. She's like, get down and everything.
Don't do this now, I'm wanting to impress this guy.
Who's Mark Ruffalo, and it's and obviously not knowing where this film was going as such, majority of everybody involved other than Max, other than obviously the voices of the wild things, there's no other people involved in the rest of the film throughout the runtime, and it's it could have been literally anybody to play.
Yeah, you didn't need
Mark Ruffalo. But
was he the Hulk? Had he been the Hulk at this point, or was he not?
No,
famous?
No, it wasn't. No, it was
more chick flicks that he'd been.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I think
just like Heaven and such.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, so even so, though,
still, a bit of a heavy cash out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the mum, she looked familiar.
Kathleen Turner. Yeah, she's been another one of Spike Jonze's films called Being John Malkovich. She's good in that. But,
I've heard of that, but I've not seen it, I don't think. Is there anything I know she's in?
40-Year-Old Virgin.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know if she was the love interest in that one.
I don't know.
I forget, it's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah, she's been in dramas and things like that. She's a very good actress. But yes, for the screen time she has. Even I did like that, before we get onto him running away to the island, that scene where she's like, "Oh, Max, tell me a story," and he's lying on the floor, and the angle looking up at her and she's above him and everything. She's kind of looking down at him endearingly and stuff, and just wanting to have that sort of connection. So that was kind of a nice use of camera angles there to symbolise that.
And I think as well, for her trying to get a job done at the same time as like, no, go away, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Giving him the time of day to kind of say, like, tell me something so I can get through my workload as well. And
keep him occupied, essentially.
Yeah, but keep her entertained as well.
Yeah, make it look like
she's a good mum. Like, she is.
I can imagine she is.
But I think Max just needs a lot more and is going through a lot.
Yeah, it does remove, obviously, like, with our kids and that being a thing, how stroppy they can be at a certain age. And
who are they going to get that from?
Are you joking?
No. You.
Well, weren't you a bit of a
I am a terrible twos.
Yeah.
Twos are manageable.
Not later on, though?
No, it was fine later on.
Oh, I see. Well, I can't say I was really, like, any, like, screaming or anything like that when I was that age, but I'm just saying...
No, but I mean him more now.
No, true.
I know you were a golden child. I know you were. And that's why your mum had another one, and then it's like, oh God, Joe was the complete opposite. Whereas I was the pain in the ass. Yes, my grandma called me a gremlin because I would cry all the time. But I am a terrible twos. But then I didn't have a terrible teenager year. Didn't do what you did to your poor mum when you were a teenager, throwing up, drinking too much.
Well, that was late teens, though. Bear in mind, that wasn't
making her
like
think you were puking up blood or whatever.
Exaggerating, making it sound like I was like in the 12-year-old self.
No, but I mean, teens.
Piss up.
Like, no, but like 16-year-olds are hard to manage. But no, I was fine. I was a lovely 8-year-old, 9-year-old.
Okay, take a word for it. So, obviously, after all that occurs, he runs off down the street, and then it's kind of like a point of like, how is he going to transport himself to this island where the wild things are? Is it going to be initially I thought it was going to maybe something like I don't know if it's like, it's a bit of a cop-out thing in the sense of like he hits his head and then it's like, it's all a dream after everything happens after that, or it just kind of like blends into one of the, say like he went into a forest as he just keeps running through the actual forest of wherever he is or something, and then he ends up and then he's on and
to be fair, I think it is, he's still in the forest. He hasn't gone anywhere. That's how I interpret this film. I feel like it's just his imagination and he's still just in that forest. He's not gone on a boat and travelled over the sea. It's just his imagination running wild.
Yeah, I'm thinking on the sense like of the passage of time when he's where he is in his imagination. I think
it's a day, isn't it? Well, it's a day for his mum, I'd say, that he's been away, or not even an evening. I think she gets him the same evening.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
In his mind, he's been there several days.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So not that he's literally run away and gone on a boat and everything. No. Obviously, I understand that, but...
Are you sure?
But yeah, he obviously eventually gets to where he feels like he needs to be, in his mind, I suppose, and encounters these, I guess you would say they were demons of sorts, in a more child-friendly way. Not too, like, ridiculously scary or anything like that, but they're quite more big, lovable, cuddly toys.
You've got quite good characters within them, to be fair. I feel like Max is good, but these guys create the film. Like, if you didn't have these...
Yeah. No, I'm actually surprised as well, like, the fact that for the majority of our time you spend with these puppets, essentially, because they are from Jim Henson Company, make them, which you can tell. Obviously, there's a lot of craft gone into them. I'm actually surprised, like, how... It's like, it would look really rubbish if it's completely CGI, and you'd be like, it wouldn't feel as real as it does. The only use of CGI they've used is on when they're talking.
Yeah.
The characters, which obviously helps, because they would look a bit rubbish if they were just...
A bit ropey.
Puppets. Like the Muppets are, in a sense, like that kind of thing, or something like that. It wouldn't look as believable, whereas the use of, obviously, like, face mapping CGI onto them on the costumes themselves it works really well. So.
It's quite funny. I did think, like, when I was looking at it, it's like, how many people are actually in that one costume, like having to...
I don't know, actually. Whether it is one person and they just got loads of things, or there's a couple of people stacked on top of one another, I don't know.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be a bit tricky, I think. Yeah, because it is quite big.
Quite cumbersome. But... You
could have two people, like, being the like, but then synchronising that to run and jump and all of that.
Obviously, it's a lot of after the green screen, like people in those green suits and stuff, I think would have helped, say, move the arm up or something to throw and stuff, but...
But I do think Carol is his inner him. Like, he can see himself in Carol. And I find it weird that Carol, to me, is a boy, but he's got a female name.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've got that a lot with certain ones throughout, like KW. That's a girl. I don't really know what KW stands for. We never get to figure that out.
No.
And also it seems like a boyish kind of
tomboy
name, but she's very sweet. She's my favourite out of all of them.
From what I gather from that anyway, the fact that there's sort of almost like a romance of sorts. They're like, oh, she's come back as if, like, oh, I was like not a boyfriend and girlfriend, but like how, our boys like a girl.
And mean to girls when they fancy them, and they want them to stick around, but then they're being mean.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
can't have your cake and eat it,
boys are stupid because girls don't like being picked on. They're very sensitive, and if you do that, they'll probably just think, oh, you don't like me, and go away.
Yeah.
They won't go, oh, he's been mean to me, so clearly he likes me. That's just really conflicting.
Yeah. But then the other names of the ones are more standard, like Judith is the one with the three-horned rhino-looking one with the long hair as well.
Is she the nasty one?
She's the one who, kind of like, oh, I'm going to...
Debbie Downer.
What's it? You're selfish if if you don't taste delicious if I eat you. Matt.
Yeah, and also picking favourites when they make him the king.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
A bit bitter.
Yeah.
Then you've got Douglas, who looks like a bird. Is he the bird?
Yeah, he's the one that looks like an eagle, but he's got like human ears.
Yeah, and he's friends with Carol, like quite close.
Yeah. I think
like a bit of a bromance going on.
I wouldn't say bromance, but they are quite close.
Yeah,
and then. Ira is the one with the big nose, and that's like girlfriend of, or they're in love. I think they said.
Yeah.
With Judith, so they're a couple essentially. And then there's Alexander, who's like the smallest one. He's the goat-looking one,
and
he's like one of the things like he's trying to speak up, but he's kind of just everyone.
Is he you?
I guess he would be.
Bless you.
Yeah, no one seems to pay attention to him.
Not meaning that in a mean way, but sometimes if you've got a big group. I'm just thinking everyone's going to be thinking, Sophie, that's a bit harsh. But it's more like you trying to interject into that conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, if other people are loud and boisterous, then yeah.
And by the time that you get to your point, the conversation's moved on. Sometimes I have to go...
With this, sometimes...
Hey! Well, what was you going to say, Paul? Because that's what I normally would say. Go on, what were you going to say?
Only that nothing of a significance, but just the fact that there was also this other one, which I think was on the cover of the book, and he's like the bull or bison looking character.
We've seen him, but we don't know his name.
Yeah, I don't think we ever do really.
No, we just see him as like this dark shadow, a bit ominous.
Ominous, yeah, and he's got like almost like human feet.
Even clock
I think which I recognise from the book, but yeah, it's because obviously they're not like standard like the Douglas eagle, like I say, he's got human ears and other weird appendages that kind of don't match. So it's kind of like a child's imagination. Just he's got all this funny stuff, and that's his. But the other ones, I feel like they must represent other elements within his life, I suppose, because they say there is one's that's supposed to be his mother or something, or
like KW is his mum, and
trying to
then
be supportive. Yeah.
The one that's got the several horns, what's her name again?
Judith.
That's his sister.
Right.
I don't know who Douglas is, unless that's his equivalent of his dad. But we never really see his dad, so I can't really say.
No, I don't know. It's hard to pin down on that, really, but there must be obviously inner feelings that reflect each of those characters.
But with Carol, I feel like the initial scene of him smashing up their homes and getting really grumpy and angry.
Yeah, just a means of venting, really.
But that's how Max felt, and that's what he wanted to do, and that's what he kind of did when he bit his mum and ran away.
Yeah.
It's equivalent of that kind of anger being let out, and I think that's why they got so drawn to one another, because they're so similar.
Yeah, he could see this guy gets it kind of thing as he's trying to...
And I think, actually, out of all of it, when they get made king...
Or Max gets made king.
Yeah, he feels like responsible then, and I think it gives him an understanding of how his mum might feel, and I think that's what the lesson is. Like, actually, she has to think of everybody and go through all of this to jump through the hoops. And that's what he's having to do to be king for them, and I think it's a growing up piece.
And also he's having to sort of tell her lies as parents do, I suppose, in a way. Like, so like the whole thing of like, why can't you eat me? Why not? Because then the parents got to think of something essentially on the spot, like, so babies, where do they come from? Or
Yeah,
Is Santa
or
real? And then they've got to,
or
gotta think
you're
on your
going to have
feet.
to eat your
Yeah.
greens because otherwise you won't be strong.
So there's a level of that, that's in a sense.
Yeah, there is. And I think it's like the same thing of where do your dogs go if they've been, vanish instead.
Yeah.
Get taken
pass,
to a nice
yeah.
farm. All of those kind of things that your parents have to white lie and you hate them for it at the time. But then when you grow up, you're like, oh, I get it. Because at that age, they won't understand it. And I think with Max, he's learning and understanding a little bit more and growing up within this vivid imagination that he has. I feel like that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of comes to play a little bit with the fact, I don't know if you probably thought the same, when he was back in his hometown, wherever, and he was building that like snow fort, and then everybody kind of piles on him, and he obviously gets upset because he was like crushed essentially from everybody being on top of him and getting upset, and his sister didn't say anything. When all the other wild things started like piling on him, and I thought, oh, here we go again, it's another trauma back for him, going to come back on that, but it was then they were just going to sleep.
I think it's more like having people surrounded by him, and that's what
he felt comforted by that. And then his mum, I guess, who was the KW character, like saying, "Oh, what's she like?" Being comforted and like, "Oh, good night, go to sleep," and everybody. That's just yeah. I
think that's what he was missing and wanting to be part of his sister's friendship. I thought they'd really hurt him. To be fair, when I saw it with the igloo.
Yeah, no, I did as well. Thinking, oh Christ, because he obviously like snot run down his face.
He was so upset. Really good acting skills. To be fair.
Yeah. I'll touch on briefly the fact that the kid's called Max, and in real life the kid's also called Max, but his surname is Max Records, which I think is a pretty boss name, really. No, sounds like a company kind of thing, like Max Records.
Oh, you straight away made me think of Max the Million. Is it Max Million off Goof Troop?
Oh. Yeah, Max. Yeah,
and that's where I go to.
Okay.
To be fair, I don't really like Max as a name. I just feel like it's a dog name.
Yeah, it is very much.
Sorry for anybody.
It's called Max.
Yeah,
or Maximilian, or.
But yeah, it seems like one of those kind of poster names.
Yeah, it's very simple, very easy to say, and
Max
obviously naming him.
Though.
I don't know if that was purposeful, that they went and found somebody who was called Max.
Maybe they just attached. Oh, was it called Max in the book as well?
Yes.
Oh, maybe then.
Yeah, as far as what I can sort of gauge, yeah.
Maybe it was just easier because when you're a child and you're trying to say you're Max.
Yeah, because I think of The Shining when Danny is also called Danny Lloyd, is the actual person who played the boy.
Yeah.
And so the Danny in the book. So it's just whether it's a happy coincidence, I don't know. But
maybe it's easier to instruct the kid and say, "Oh, as Danny, you would," and then he's not getting confused.
But it did, I mean, overall, initially you're thinking, "Oh, he's really annoying and everything," but obviously you spend the most time with him in person, so to speak, throughout the film. But you kind of get the sensibilities of him trying to get to grips with himself and his feelings. So it kind of, as the film goes on, it gets a bit more tolerable, except maybe when he's doing the whole dirt clod throwing war thing going on. And
that's recreating, isn't it? The snowball fight,
essentially, yeah.
Pretty much, that's what it is. And actually, then he sees the repercussions of the fight and how he felt, like, but actually he's causing pain on other people.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I guess, in his mind, it's a reflection on that. Really, like, oh yeah. I mean, I don't like snowball fights at the best of times. It's just because that could literally could happen. You could have like, oh, harmless bit of snow, throw it, and it's got a rock in it or something, and you end up,
ice, yeah,
something more dangerous inside. Essentially, it hits you square in the eye or something, and I always hated that at school, especially snow day, and then it's like just going to get to class, and obviously bell rings for playtime or whatever, and then people are just having snowball fights as you're trying to just walk across.
I think ours used to do it even worse. They'd like get cold water, so they'd purposely make the ice.
Oh, geez.
Like, so they would prepare it like first recess.
Yeah.
And then pour like cold water on it to make it even colder. And it'd be like literally an ice ball.
Was this a Christian school?
Yeah.
Right,
and then they used to get the cold water, and we used to have a hill that used to go down to like where his other classrooms, like a science classroom was, and they would pour ice water down there.
Slip and slide,
to slip and slide. Oh, it was awful. I hated it because you know me, I'm clumsy as ever.
Yeah,
my worst nightmare.
And from that, obviously, like I remember the Alexander the goat. He's like, "Oh, I'm going home," kind of thing. It's like, yeah, it'll be me. Like, I'm not playing
I've had
anymore.
enough.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And then Douglas, bless him, loses his arm.
I think that's later on.
Is that later on?
Yeah. But that's another instance of Carol and KW like going, "Oh, why did you step on my head?" kind of thing. And it's like, "Oh, it's a war. That's what you're supposed to do." And it's like, "No, you did it on purpose."
And it's like, "Oh, well, step on my head then."
Yeah. And then she walks. She's the bigger monster essentially, and walks away.
At the beginning, though, when Max becomes king,
they
do ask, can he keep out all the sadness and prevent that happening? And I think that's kind of what he's trying to suppress, is all his sadness and upsetment within it.
Mm-hmm.
So for like the beasts to rely on him so heavily is to resolve everything for them.
Putting up this sadness shield so they can feel better, but it's essentially him to feel better about himself.
There's also quite a bit of a depressing part where obviously there is global warming and we know that it's happening.
Yeah, because the teacher mentioned in the start, like, "Oh, the sun's going to die." Just in telling these 8-year-old kids. Yeah. Like, heat death of the universe is coming.
Yeah, I know that obviously it will at some point be inevitable, but I feel like an 8-year-old maybe doesn't really need to know the full in-depthness of that to worry them and concern them.
Yeah, that existential crisis going at an early age, yeah. But I know we do think about that as adults, especially as time ticks on, and thinking, "Oh, we've done enough with our time," and such like that. It's always a bit of a worry, I suppose. It's lingering. Some days, sometimes you don't even think about it for 2 seconds, and then
it's too busy. You blink and your day's gone, and you're like, "Where the hell did that one go?"
But he has that conversation with Carol anyway when walking through the desert. Sand becomes rock, becomes dust, and then I don't know what comes after that. And he says, "Did you know the sun was going to die?" And he's like, "What? No, look at me, I'm big. Why do I worry about something like that when but that sun's really small there," kind of thing? Because obviously it's on the basis of like you look at the sun or the moon or whatever. It's like, it's
far
really
away
tiny in the sky. Yeah, but it's actually
massive.
You think about obviously they can't sort of comprehending that just looking at that in there. It's just easy to think that it is, but I think that's more just again maybe him just trying to overcome that in a way. It's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's not."
Put a plaster on it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So they're going to build the biggest fort ever, basically. It's beautifully done.
You mean actually constructed?
Yeah.
So again, I think like in the child's mind, Max's mind, like how like at the start when he's telling that story, and it's kind of like as a kid tells a story, it's almost like gibberish how it's structured. It doesn't make a lot of sense. A vampire bites a building and then breaks his fangs and then starts crying, and the
nobody
vampires
wants to be friends with him.
The end kind of thing. So obviously the logic in him, like, "Oh, we're going to build this, and it's going to have this room," and you have all these. As a kid, it's great. Obviously, that imagination as a kid, and you're drawing out, like, say, a colouring sketch pad or whatever with all these. Yeah. Oh, my room's going to have,
X, Y, and Z, but
pool table and the arcade room, and then the snap machine and all that kind of stuff. But then, obviously, in reality,
that costs then,
and it's not really feasible. So, obviously, I have big ideas for building this fort, but ultimately, it kind of comes to a realization that it's not really as plausible even in this fantasy world as such. It's kind of just, it seems very bare bones to a degree, and there's kind of like, there's a thing of the hierarchy. Oh, why are you talking to him more, hanging around with him more? He's better than you, got your favourites kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. So
then wanting his own space, which he didn't realise he did want. So
it's like, "Oh, this is too much, I want to get away from you all." But
that's how a parent feels. And I think him wanting to build the fort was when he built the best fort ever, and he wanted his mum to come and join him, and she didn't. And I think that's kind of the reason behind the fort and the feeling, and that's how he ended up running away. And also the fort was meant to protect you and not have anyone in the fort that you didn't want. And I think that was resembling his mum's boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
Can we talk about KW and the owls?
Oh yeah, Bob and Terry. Which is
what the heck is that about? Like, I know owls are meant to be wise. They don't have any dialogue, though. You can't understand what they're saying.
No, I don't know if that, again, there must be something in that. Like, some of them can understand, like, us KW can understand what they're saying, but even Carol's like, I don't know what they're talking about type of thing.
Yeah,
so
Max agrees.
So it's maybe some sort of, like, confusion there in something, really. But what they represent is beyond me, because... But I also feel a little bit sorry for him, because she kind of just, like, she picks up these rocks and just starts chucking them at these, well, the birds in the sky, and then you realise, yeah, they're kind of just weird, like, elongated owls that...
They freaked me out, and I love owls, and they were, like,
Yeah,
really
they're a bit
weird.
odd puppets, yeah. Well...
And they looked a bit disheveled, but
Yeah.
obviously they've just been whacked on the head, so...
Yeah, you can blame them, yeah. They didn't look very happy, but yeah.
But Carol hates them. And is like saying, oh, well, why you're meant to have a floor that, I don't know.
Yeah, keep people out that you don't want, but how do you choose that again? It's that kind of...
But like,
can't keep everybody out.
The king said, well, I choose for them to stay, and that kind of caused a rift between him and Carol.
Yeah.
I think that's how the mud fight happens.
Yeah, I think it
on
is
the back of
shortly
that.
after that, yeah.
And then everyone just feels really deflated and disappointed and don't think he's a good king anymore.
Yeah, and lose faith and realise he doesn't actually have any powers.
Yeah.
After the fact that he obviously states the lies come to fruition, and then...
Yeah, and when I think when you're a child and you realise your parents lied to you, that's a big... I don't know if you actually ever found out your parents lied to you when you were little, but I know I did. I was very disappointed, very annoyed. It was like, how dare you lie to me?
About what exactly?
Can't really say.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I don't want to... If we do have children listen, I don't want to ruin their happiness.
Okay, I think I know what you...
But yes, I was absolutely devastated, and I just was like, nope, not having this. Don't think this is acceptable behaviour.
But obviously, ultimately leads to obviously like how Carol just becomes more resenting of Max at this point, and just like, oh, why is it? Where's the sun gone? It's dark.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah,
and lashing out again.
But it's like, no, what? He can't believe what you're saying, really. Like, it'll come back tomorrow. It's like, will it, though?
Yeah, because you've already lied to us.
So why should I believe you?
Yeah.
Type thing.
And this is where Douglas gets his arm ripped off.
Yeah.
I think it's Carol that does it.
That was my favourite arm.
But I feel like that's representing Max biting his mum. That's how I see that.
So it's almost like, I guess, a long-winded way of replaying back what occurred at the start, in a sense, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I guess, replaying the day.
Just, it's a coping mechanism for him to realise and understand what he's done. Mm-hmm. And that he's hurt the ones he loves, basically, by lashing out. Which you always do. You always hurt the ones closest to you.
Yeah.
You never hurt the people that actually hurt you.
It just seems at the time just so much easier to, you're there and just...
Well, like, the resentment should have either gone to his sister, which he did wreck her room, I guess. But it also should have gone to all her friends that did it.
I know, but...
Yeah, the poor mum gets bitten instead.
Yeah. Oh, there was that comes back later as well, like, with the, that wooden heart that he made for his sister.
Yeah.
He destroys that, all the paper heart, and then he makes one later on for Carol as he's about to leave.
And that room gets all smashed up where Carol kind of created everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all kind of 360s round.
It does.
It was quite moving at the end, though, when he was about to leave, was Max. Because it's the first king they haven't actually eaten.
Yeah, because there was a bit of like, what's all these bones and why is there this crown here? It's like, I don't know. Yeah. So it's almost like he's passed the test, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. And he can go back home.
Of, coming to terms with his issues, whereas maybe for other kids or something, perhaps it was a means of like, oh, they couldn't cut it with, like resolving their issues. And so they're still very angry or, problem child or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's
your little interpretation.
Yeah. And so when you go home, say good things about us. What do you see that as?
I think it's more for him to apologise and kind of realise what's happened and reflect on what he's learned. I feel like that's it. I don't think he'll probably tell his mum about all this story that he'd seen and done while he was away, because you don't really get that. You just get like a hug and her being relieved. And I think that's all you need. Yeah.
You don't need to over-explain. No. Like, oh, Mum, I just did this and then we did this.
Because I think that wouldn't have gone as well.
No. I think for the tone of the film, what it was going for, it's kind of that you had to sort of play out that way and not over-explain things. And I think overall, kind of, it's sort of like I'd say it's a mature kids film, if that makes sense. So it's obviously for the young kids who have probably read the book, or maybe in the maybe 6, 7, 8-year-old. Not obviously like a 3-year-old's not going to get to grips with it.
You never know. There might be a smart 3-year-old out there reading a book like that.
Maybe, but in terms of like what the film offers visually and thematically and stuff, it's almost like I don't know if you would say it was sort of like a hoity-toity, like, oh, my kids watched Wild Thing, as opposed to like Boss Baby or something really stuff up. Minions or something.
Minions is better, yeah. Boss Baby, I feel like that's not aimed for children, is it?
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know.
It's the same. I know it's not. It's that's DreamWorks, but like the Trolls or whatever.
The Trolls is aimed for children.
Yeah.
I feel like Boss Baby has a bit of adult humour.
I don't know. I don't care to check. Find out, really. It looks rubbish.
It does.
Yes, it does. But did you enjoy this film?
Yeah, I did. But it's more, did you? Because you get to go first, so don't be asking me.
No, I just...
Don't be trying to see what I think just so that you can help you score. Huh?
I feel like it's going to be a semi-high score, but I feel like sort of maybe missed the boat on like getting round to watching it, I suppose.
When you were younger?
Obviously, I wouldn't have seen it at the age I was like in uni time when the film came out.
Yeah, but I guess if you'd have had this nostalgia of the book, if you'd have read the book when you were younger to the film coming out.
True. Although I would say, like, with Coraline, that being a children's book, but I read the book before I saw the film, and that was around a similar time. Mm-hmm. But I really, really like that film.
I feel like that's more adulty, though, compared to this. I think this kind of shows...
Yeah, that was cute, cute-ish monsters type of thing. But I do think there's probably... It's not something I would, like, immediately rush back to or anything like that. It's to sit down and watch with a child of obviously a similar age.
Yeah.
Range. It'll be interesting to see how they would back up these. A child like me, then she might be like, okay. Might fall asleep. She might have that trait. Maybe. Let's see. But I'm going to put it at a 7 for now. Yeah, I think I was thinking 6.5. That's where I was kind of benchmarking it, to be fair. I think 7 for you would make more sense just because it's like beasts and down your alley. Yeah, no, I've got to admire the puppetry and it is. And even like obviously the landscapes and stuff that are in the environments and stuff. It's like I admire the craft of that. Mm-hmm. And obviously the directors of the film's familiar with, and again I can see this is like his kids' film of the type of work that he does. And I know the guy who made the book. It was like, all right, there have been talks of it being adapted for quite some time, and he was only happy with Spike Jonze directing the film. So I'd say, I'm sure the director will agree that he's done a fine job of adapting his very short story into something that's makes you think a little bit, but not too it's sort of scary to think about, but not too like overly like terrifying or anything like that for kids. I think it's an enjoyment, but I think there's a level of enjoyment for adults and there is. Yeah. I think it is definitely aimed more for children, for them to learn the kind of a development growth lesson within it. And I think for an adult, it's still wanting you to release your inner child in a sense. Yeah, and sort of reflect back on things, or maybe for them to understand how kids are. Maybe, I don't know. There's something the emotions being relatable that they go through, to them. Perhaps. Yeah, because when you're an adult, you don't understand what they're going through because it's been a while since you were a child. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, feels like it's a while since. Getting older, you are. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. Overall, I would recommend people to watch it. It's beautifully done. I think the storyline, Max can get a bit grating, but that's what they're going for. It's just, but the actual actor is very good. Yeah, it's just how he's written. But you always have that, I think, in a child's book. You always have like a naughty child, which then becomes good. The lesson, yeah. Would have been interesting to see more Mark Ruffalo, but there we are. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you would like to listen to some of our other episodes, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And if you'd like to leave us a 5-star review, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and wherever else they do the scoring system.
So if you do want to follow us, I think we've got a couple of platforms you can follow us on now, I think. There's so many now. I feel old because there's new ones. So we've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got Twitter.
Well, it's X now, but yeah. But just call it Twitter because
it's Twitter.
Yeah.
And
that's what the logo is anyway.
Threads.
Threads, yeah.
Which is a rip-off Twitter/Instagram.
Yeah.
So you can find us all under the handle SP_filmviewers. At least it has the same.
All consistent, yeah.
Yeah, and you can follow us and like and comment and see what we're up to if you want to be part of that.
And if you would like to also take things a little bit further and be part of our Patreon family.
That was nicely swiftly done, that was.
Like our lovely people we're going to call out now.
Are we taking it in turns? So I'm going to go first.
Yep.
Cop out. Do the easy one. My mum. So yeah, she follows us, which is the only female. So can we drum up some more females, please?
We have Mark from 100 Things We Learn from Film podcast.
We have Ben from Film Vloggers.
We have Nico from The Good, The Bad and The Weird podcast.
We have our lovely friend Jonze, who, if you haven't seen the Lighthouse episode already, go check it out. So if you do want to find him, he is on Instagram under the handle @WeightLossJonesy.
And our 2 new patrons that we have are Alex Morris, another friend of ours. He is under the handle @DesperatelySeekingUsername on Instagram.
He's also joined our podcast as well. I think he was on our Jurassic Park 3.
Yep.
Wanted to say World then, so that's why I paused. He is hilarious. He'll bring definitely something to the podcast, isn't he? I think he wants to join again at some point as well. Yeah. So yeah. So go check him out and give him all the likes and loves. Oh, probably not, because he'll just be sarcastic to you anyways.
And last but not least, we have another friend of ours, Chris Gren, who goes by CGrenDraw on Instagram as well. So if you would like to join our Patreon family, get your name shouted out every episode, and get to vote for what we watch once a month, then you go to patreon.com/SPFilmViewers and donate as little as £1 or $1.50 a month. And that gets you those perks, shout-outs, and that would be very much appreciated to show your support. And speaking of, the next episode will be a Patreon pick, so I've got to think on what one that I'm going to choose for what you haven't seen.
Yes. Be nice, please. Not you, them.
Well, I've got to... Well, that also reflects on me as well, because I've got to think about what that is to pair for the pairing, but yes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. Not Halloween yet, Paul, so
No.
nothing scary.
No, but I've thoughts for that anyway.
Starting early?
No.
Because if we're going to be moving into September, into Halloween, then Christmas has to start to move into November. It's a compromise.
Well, in a sense, depends on how the weeks fall, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this episode, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye.
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 Bye.